Yeah, my story is intertwined with it as well because I came to Vancouver right when St. Pete's was starting. So my
Okay.
wife and I were brand new to Canada. We joined St. Peter's on the second Sunday of services, right when the church was starting. And for us, Anglicanism was new as well.
Yeah.
Deanna laughed. She says when we showed up at Regent, everyone was talking about Anglican things, and she was like, "What's that? I don't even know what that is." It's neither of our backgrounds. So,
Okay.
but someone invited us along right when we moved, and we didn't know anyone, and we didn't know any better. So we went, and we decided we'd give it 6 months and see
Mm.
if we liked it, and then chat and have a conversation. But we never had the follow-up conversation. We just stayed and have been a part of the church ever since.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and a part of St. Peter's that struck me immediately, it is
Yeah.
an Anglican church, so
Yeah.
it's more liturgical. I grew up in a Pentecostal church in North Carolina in the South, so
Okay.
miles away
Wow.
from any sort of Anglican expression of the
Yeah.
church. I was a part of a mega church after that for a while, kind of non-denominational, and
Yeah.
then a small Presbyterian church. So just the whole gamut, but nothing Anglican. And the liturgy of the service was shocking to me at first.
Right.
Really, the structure of it, the
Uh-huh.
flow. It's
Mm-hmm.
very methodical,
Mm.
and yeah, one thing to another. And my experience of that earlier in my life, and even in the Presbyterian church I was at
Mm.
right before, I didn't really like it. It
Yeah.
wasn't my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I was the youth leader at the Presbyterian church I worked at. And yeah, I kind of pushed back against the liturgy. And I thought the kids wouldn't like it. I thought, like, this
Yeah.
isn't great.
Yeah.
People aren't going to want to be a part of church because there's all this like structure.
Yeah.
But when I came to St. Pete's, the first couple weeks, we sat through the service, and the people leading the liturgy, leading a confession and
Mm.
proclaiming the assurance of faith and
Yeah.
leading in these prayers, it was the first time I'd encountered it where they really meant it. Like
Wow.
they led in a way that said, "This matters,"
Yeah.
and I'm proclaiming the gospel in a particular way. And that
Yeah.
really struck me that the person up front, the
Yeah.
woman or man saying these prayers, leading,
Yeah.
this really matters to them and it's deep in their heart. And so I didn't get it. I was a little skeptical. I told my wife that. I don't know this.
Yeah.
I like this church. I like the community, but the whole liturgy thing is a little much. But that person really believes in it. So I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and over time, that came to be a really beautiful part of the service for me, and refreshing and grounding. And um, I think one thing I really grew to value is saying the creed every week,
Okay. Yeah.
the Apostles' Creed normally, and it's because it's a chance for me every week to stand up and say the story that I
Mm-hmm.
belong
Okay.
to be
You're
reminded.
telling the
I'm
story.
telling the story.
Right.
Yeah, I'm telling the
Yeah.
story of God in a nutshell. And I have to stand up and say it every week, even if I, aren't feeling the best, or if I've
Yeah.
had a rough week, or
Yeah.
if I'm feeling like God's a little distant and I don't know where he is this week. I still stand up and proclaim that truth and say it. And that grounds me. And I think that's one of the key reasons that I wanted to grow into Anglicanism and leading in this church. I never thought I'd be an Anglican priest growing up by any means, but now here I am, and I believe the expression we have, it's an expression of God's church. There's many beautiful expressions of
Yeah.
the church throughout the world.
Yeah.
Um, my heart for and belief in the Anglican church and the expression of it that we have is that chance to tell the story
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
The service tells the story, the creed tells the story. We go to the table and celebrate
Yeah.
communion every week, which is a chance to be reminded of Jesus's love for us.
Right. Yeah.
And even more than that, on a daily basis, we value something called the daily offices, where we invite the
Okay.
church to pray in a grounded way in the morning and the evening. So it's a daily thing telling the story, and a weekly thing
Yeah.
with the service, and then even a yearly thing. There's
Yeah.
the church calendar that we walk through every year, which again can feel stodgy and old and weird, but
Mm.
it's walking through the story of Jesus's life.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until going through it once or twice at St. Pete's and seeing, like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're just getting to know Jesus better,
Yeah. Yeah.
and each and every moment of his life, and how beautiful each part is to celebrate. So Um, I love it. And I think it's really helpful. I was talking to a guy just the other day. He was telling me he was visiting 18 churches, looking at all these different churches
Okay.
he grew up a Christian, but was just feeling not settled anymore and didn't know where to land. He was considering becoming, uh, leaving the faith
Oh,
altogether.
wow.
Yeah, it was moving. And he landed at St. Pete's. He kept coming back. And it was that exact reason, um, of feeling grounded, of hearing
Yeah.
the story, of
Yeah.
being connected to it
Yeah.
in a world where our world's confusing.
Yeah.
Our world is shaky. It's unstable feeling in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that groundedness and connection to who God is over and over, and that it's more than just us, and it's
Yeah.
more than just um, us today. Even the church is connected all the way back
Yeah.
to Jesus himself. It really helped this guy. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna come back here because I'm reminded of the story every week," and that's really helpful.